Greetings, knowledge seeker, and welcome to Conan References in Conan Exiles Part 9. For those of you that fear the arrivals of spoilers, turn back now, for spoilers are already at the gates. In Robert E. Howard's yarn, Rogues in the House, Conan is hired to assassinate the Red Priest, Nabonidus. After some unexpected delays, Conan makes his way into the Red Priest's house, where to the barbarian's surprise, he found that the Red Priest was a prisoner in his own home, imprisoned by his own protege, Thak, who decided to usurp his master and rule in his stead. Now Thak was not mere man, he was an ape-man that the Red Priest had taken under his wing, his hubris leading him to think that he could forever keep the ape-man under his control. At one point in the story, Murillo, the one that had hired Conan to assassinate the Red Priest, gives us a description of the ape-man. "It was no man that stood before me. In body and posture it was not unlike a man. But from the scarlet hood of the priest grinned a face of madness and nightmare. It was covered with black hair, from which small pig-like eyes glared redly. Its nose was flat, with great flaring nostrils. Its loose lips writhed back, disclosing huge yellow fangs like the teeth of a dog. The hands that hung from the scarlet sleeves were misshapen and likewise covered with black hair." And later on in the story, the Red Priest himself reveals the name of the ape-man and his origins. "That is Thak," answered the priest, caressing his temple. "Some would call him an ape, but he is almost as different from a real ape as he is different from a man. His people dwell far to the east, in the mountains that fringe the eastern frontiers of Zamora. There are not many of them, but if they are not exterminated, I believe they will become human beings in perhaps 100,000 years. They are in the formative stage. They are neither apes, as their remote ancestors were, nor men, as their remote descendants may be. They dwell in the high crags of well-nigh inaccessible mountains, knowing nothing of fire or the making of shelter or garments, or the use of weapons. Yet they have a language of sort, consisting mainly of grunts and clicks. I took Thak when he was a cub, and he learned what I taught him much more swiftly and thoroughly than any true animal could have done. He was at once bodyguard and servant. But I forgot that being partly a man, he could not be submerged into a mere shadow of myself, like a true animal. Apparently his semi-brain retained impressions of hate, resentment, and some sort of bestial ambition of its own. The Cimmerian is eventually forced to battle the ape-man, and after a grueling battle, Conan comes out as the victor. Now, if you think that you can do better than the Red Priest, you can get your own ape-man in the exiled lands. To do so, you will need to obtain the Kin Scourge's heart, then journey all the way to the southern desert. On the shore of the river, you will find Hanuman's grotto, where you can offer the heart as a sacrifice to the ape god, Hanuman the Accursed. And in return, if you're lucky, you will receive an item with which to summon an ape-man as your ally. However, if fortune is not on your side during the sacrifice, you will receive a potion instead that will strengthen your body with Hanuman's gifts. Another reference worth mentioning is the shrine to Hanuman and the description of the summoning item for the grey ape, which reads, "They entered a court paved with marble, which gleamed whitely in the starlight. A short flight of broad marble steps led up to the pillared portico. The great bronze doors stood wide open, as they had stood for centuries, but no worshippers burnt incense within. In the day, men and women might come timidly into the shrine and place offerings to the ape god on the black altar. At night, the people shunned the temple of Hanuman as hares shun the lair of the serpent. This is a paragraph from Robert E. Howard's Shadows in Zambula, or as it was initially titled, The Man-Eaters of Zambula. But it is the next two paragraphs which are of interest to us, which read as follows. Burning censers bathed the interior in a soft, weird glow that created an illusion of unreality. Near the rear wall, behind the black stone altar, sat the god with his gaze fixed forever on the open door, through which for centuries his victims had come, dragged by chains of roses. A faint groove ran from the sill to the altar, and when Conan's foot felt it, he stepped away as quickly as if he had trodden upon a snake. That groove had been worn by the faltering feet of the multitude of those who had died screaming on that grim altar. Bestial in the uncertain light, Hanuman leered with his carven mask. He sat, not as an ape would crouch, but cross-legged as a man would sit. But his aspect was no less simian for that reason. He was carved from black marble, but his eyes were rubies, which glowed red and lustful as the coals of hell's deepest pits. His great hands lay upon his lap, palms upward, taloned fingers spread and grasping. In the gross emphasis of his attributes, in the leer of his satyr countenance, was reflected the abominable cynicism of the degenerate cult which deified him. The first paragraph is referenced in Conan Exiles by the possibility of offering human hearts at the shrine to Hanuman the Accursed, similarly to how the priests of Hanuman have done many times before you. While the second paragraph is referenced in-game by the statue itself, as you may have noticed already. That's all for now, Knowledge Seeker. Do declare your allegiance by hitting subscribe and prove it by hitting like.